especially, the future wars are really going to be, and we're seeing a taste of that in Ukraine, very much drone wars. So if your drones are better than their drones, then you win. Basically, is what will happen.
Well, there's mounting frustration over the government's lack of answers on the mysterious drones flying over the East Coast right now. Lawmakers spent this week combing through what little is really known about them right now. The Pentagon saying they're not ours. FBI and Homeland Security say they don't appear foreign or from an enemy. And there's been no threat to the public. Joining me now is News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart. Ross, good morning to you. It's like no matter what way you slice it, we got a problem, right? If it's Russia or Iran behind it, there's a problem. If we simply don't know who it is, that's a problem.
Well, good morning, firstly, and can I say, let's hope it's aliens, because if it's Russia or China, we have a very serious problem. And this is the issue. The government has now admitted that we are of the view that it's not a foreign adversary government, a foreign adversary of any kind, and moreover, it's not US technology, US government technology or US military technology, which doesn't leave very much. All it leaves is the possibility of some dissident rogue group in government or maybe some private contractor that's doing the wrong thing. It really does put us in an extraordinary position, because what's happening at the moment, Marky, is I'm being besieged with angry people from places not just New Jersey, but all over the United States, who are telling me that they're really angry that the White House has suggested that this is a misidentification. Unfortunately, yesterday, Admiral John Kirby, the national security spokesman, pushed the line that people in New Jersey particularly are misidentifying manned aircraft all the time for these drones and suggesting that there's something anomalous about them. And people in New Jersey are very angry because they've seen these things for themselves. They know they're not normal drones. They're seeing them do increasingly weird things. They want answers, and they don't like being gaslit by the White House.
Yeah, and there were just sightings in California, right, Temecula. So this is now no longer just a New Jersey East Coast problem, Ross.
It never has been, and again, there's been some very clever spin on this, but this has been an event that's been happening all over the world, Marky. It started a few weeks ago in England, over two major RAF bases, Royal Air Force bases in England, but I'm getting reports from here in Australia, where I am, China, Russia, parts of Europe. There are sightings happening all over the world of extraordinary so-called drones or objects that appear to look like drones. And incredibly, the government here cannot give us any answers. They seem unable to provide a simple explanation for what these objects are.
And do you believe
people
them?
Are now starting to get concerned.
Do you believe them when they say we don't know? It's like, how can you tell us that we're safe? It's not a foreign adversary behind the controls of these things when you're also at the exact same moment unable to give us any more to chew on or work with.
Exactly. How can they possibly make any kind of assertion that it's safe, that there's no national security threat, there's no public safety threat, and that it's not a foreign adversary? They must know something more. And I think a lot of people are getting angry that the government's not being fully transparent about what it knows. They want answers. And so do people in Congress, senators, congressmen. They're now starting to really rattle the cage. And as we all know, folk from New Jersey aren't reticent in saying what they think.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised more people aren't just, taking them out themselves in their own backyards, Ross. I know that's been floated out by some senators, too. Especially,
the future wars are really going to be, and we're seeing a taste of that in Ukraine, very much drone wars. So if your drones are better than their drones, then you win, basically, is what will happen.
This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Elon Musk said it himself. Drone wars. The future is drone wars. And what you heard on that News Nation clip, of course, the underlying theme that they're trying to present here is the possibility that these could be unidentified flying objects, possibly aliens, and then we have a real threat on our hands, because our government cannot figure out what these are. We're supposed to believe that the most sophisticated government in the world, at least they claim, cannot identify what these are. And then when the White House is asked what these are, they say they're not a threat, but they don't know what they are. In fact, they believe that there's individuals who have the right to be flying these up in the air, and it's probably just some individuals all around the world right now that just went on QVC apparently and bought drones for their kids, and they're flying them up in the middle of the night and they're hovering over people's homes. And if you haven't heard, some of the reports that are out there are saying that, and I've talked to some people in some locations who have told me that they've seen power outages occur when these are flying above, or flickering of lights, which tells us that these things are clearly government operated. And for them to sit here and say that these are legally man-made, man-owned, regular civilians are flying these up is an absolute joke. Let me make this clear. A drone that a regular civilian buys is equipped with a camera, right? A drone that you buy at Walmart is equipped with a camera. Government drones are probably 6 times the size of any drone a civilian can actually buy. In fact, if you look at the drones that DARPA has, they look like small airplanes. And the difference between a civilian drone and a government drone is that if you look at some of the DARPA drones or Boeing's drones, they have electromagnetic pulses. They have the ability to fly these things over our homes, over our power grids, and short circuit electronics. Civilians do not have the capability nor the know-how or the manpower to actually do something like this. If you're not familiar with some of the drone weapons, you hear drone and you hear drone weapons, and everybody thinks of what? They think of missiles coming out of the drone, shooting people down. What they don't think about are things that they can't see with the human eye, which are electromagnetic pulses, high power microwaves. These frequencies that they can send that you can't see. You would never know that some of these drones flying above would be able to short circuit your electronics. You'd be looking up there thinking that they're filming you, thinking that they could have a missile on them. Some of the stories that have circulated around, other than the UFO things, is the Iranian mothership theory. The other theories are they're looking around for potential bioweapons or nuclear bombs. That is not what they're actually doing. Now, they could be geo-mapping, but they could also be preparing for something that looks a lot like this.
Though we can't show actual images of the CHAMP or Counter Electronics High-Powered Microwave Advanced Missile Project, this animation shows a simulated weapon flying over selected targets, hitting them with high-power radio wave bursts and defeating their electrical and data systems without causing injury or collateral damage. But it was no simulation Tuesday over the Utah Test and Training Range, where Boeing and the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory's Directed Energy Directorate successfully flew the first fully operational CHAMP weapon.
We hit every target we wanted to. We prosecuted everyone. Today we made science fiction science fact.
This video, recorded during an earlier test, shows what CHAMP is capable of. Watch the computer screens in this office as the directed energy hits the building. While the computers were knocked out, there is no structural damage. Fade to black.
When that computer went out, when we fired, it actually took out the cameras as well. We took out everything on that. It was fantastic.
Excellent team. Like I said, the reason we are successful is due to the team and the team effort.
A non-lethal weapon that can defeat targets without collateral damage is an idea that's been portrayed in television and film for decades. But this, says AFRL CHAMP lead test engineer Peter Finlay, is no movie.
We're not quite up to the place where the Star Trek and Star Wars movies are, but this is definitely an advancement in technology to be able to give us an opportunity to do things that we couldn't do before.
James Dodd, Vice President of Advanced Boeing Military Aircraft, says his team is focused on developing the innovation to protect U.S. troops.
We know this has some capabilities and some impact, and so we're really trying to engage the customer and see if there's a way that we could actually get this fielded and implemented sooner than later.
After its first flight, the CHAMP missile flew to an undisclosed location on the test range, and the flight was intentionally terminated. Boeing and AFRL teams are now analyzing the data and telemetry from this flight, which not only made history, but stands to change it as well.
So what you saw there was decades old. technology that they told us about. So we know they have the capability of doing this, and they are so further ahead than anything that they possibly let us know that they could wipe out a power grid probably with 1 or 2 drones. So some of the things, if you look into the drone theory that's going around right now, of course, is the notion, as you heard from News Nation, which loves to push the alien theory, is, of course, that it's aliens making contact. So think about this. If these drones are flying around and our government says they don't know what they are, then suddenly, like that guy said, they're seeing drones in the UK, Australia, China, and those governments don't know what they are. What they're telling you is they want you to believe that they're unidentified flying objects, that these are potentially from an outside invasion, a UFO. We know that Project Bluebeam is on the horizon, but what people don't know is that if they fly these drones over all these states in the United States of America or in any other country, and they short circuit the power grid, that they're going to come out and they're going to tell you that some alien was responsible for it. At the same time that they tell you, well, the power grid's really vulnerable, we're going to do nothing about it. And oh, by the way, we want you to switch over to green energy. So to do that, we would actually have to take down the power grid and make a new power grid, one that's more controllable for us and gives you less freedom. The only way to do that, of course, would be to short circuit it. They've been trying to at least plant seeds in our heads of who would be the people who would take out our power grid. Russia, China, maybe UFO. But if you really want to know who wants to take out the power grid, look no further than the politicians who tell you that they want to change the way that you live every day. They're the ones who want to take out the power grid. And what better boogeyman to blame it on than potentially a UFO? Now, one of the other stories out there, in addition to the fact that we're seeing these drones in Maryland, we're seeing some in Oregon. Even in Oregon, they're trying to tell you that they're UFOs. In some states, they're drones. In other states, a drone supposedly, according to Newsweek, a drone fell out of the sky overnight last night in New Jersey. And a 911 caller called 911, told them what happened, and a swarm of drones then followed in the drone that was on the ground. Now, you can take the story for what it's worth. But if that story is out there, if there's a story that's getting posted by Newsweek that tells you that a drone fell from the sky, it would likely have had to have gotten shot down by some type of an EMP gun, which I'll get into in a minute. If one fell out of the sky and 10 more drones came in after it fell and swarmed around it, well, guess what? It's not your neighbor playing games with drones. It's not the local Boy Scouts who are out having drone night and flying the drones up into the sky. That this is obviously a military operation, and it's your military that's doing it. So according to the story, a drone crashed into the ground in New Jersey amid repeated reported sightings of the unnamed flying devices along the East Coast. This is this morning. Police scanner reports in Morris County, New Jersey, indicated that a drone had crashed in the area Friday morning, with one officer reporting that more remote control aircraft were spotted in the sky around the scene of the crash. The news comes after the surge in drone sightings that have baffled New England law enforcement as well as the FBI since November, with authorities unsure about the nature and origin of the drones despite extensive security protocols. In a police scanner report released on social media, one officer described a 911 response in which someone called in a 911 drone that crashed near their house, adding that 10 additional drones appeared at the crash site. The officer said it was a crash, a drone fell out of the sky, but the power lines behind their house, and then 10 more drones showed up. This kind of grouping up behavior is consistent with other reports of the drones, which tells you that it's a government operation. It tells you that these are not man-powered by civilians. So if they're telling you that it sounds like it could be China or Russia, well, you know it's your own government. But if your own government is coming out and telling you, look, it's not us, it's not China, it's not Russia, then they're planting seeds and preparing to blame this on unidentified flying objects. They might actually be thinking about blaming this on UFOs and aliens. And if people are that dumb to think that our government can't figure out what these are, with the type of, if you look at the weaponry that DARPA has, it's laughable to think that we're even at a point where the government is going to tell you that these things are flying around and they don't know what they are. And this isn't something that just happened like 48 hours ago. This has been going on for over a month. And the government's just shrugging their shoulders. Of course, there's a part of this is gaslighting, but this is also the government seed planting and trying to prepare you to accept what they're going to tell you. And they're looking around to see how many people are talking about this being a UFO, right? Like I say, they always do data dumps. Everything that's being posted on Twitter, all the videos that people are posting, they monitor that. They do these things and watch how you respond, how we respond, how I respond, every one of us, how we react. Then they want to make sure that people aren't going to be suspicious of their own government doing it. So there'll probably be more seed planting of could it be China or could it be UFOs? But how come Donald Trump hasn't chimed in on this? How come Elon Musk, who openly, that interview was from a month ago, where Elon Musk was talking about how future wars are going to be fought with drones. And guess what? When they talk about future wars being fought with drones, they don't mean that civilians are going to be able to do anything about it. They don't mean that you could go buy a drone and you could fight in wars, because these are military operated drones. These are the types of drones that you couldn't buy if you wanted to buy them. And it's laughable when you hear the people on the news, when you hear some of the, the mayors and the governors in New Jersey, they're talking about shooting them out of the sky. How many people said shoot it out of the sky? Well, you could shoot a regular drone out of the sky. If your neighbor flies a drone over your house and you're a good shot, you could shoot it and it would fall out of the sky. You're not going to be able to shoot a government drone out of the sky. That's like saying you could shoot a helicopter, or one bullet to the helicopter would fall to the ground, or one bullet to a small airplane. Unless you hit the perfect spot that would make the thing explode, the likelihood of it going right to the ground is zero. What you would need is an electromagnetic pulse gun, something, of course, that's very hard to get your hands on and likely illegal in many states. I'm not sure what what you're allowed to have, what you can have. I know for the most part, I haven't seen these being sold anywhere. I don't think they sell them at gun shows. I don't think that you can even legally buy it online. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but it's certainly something that every civilian should be allowed to have and should be able to buy for cheap, because the only way to stop these drones would be by having an electromagnetic pulse gun, because what you could do is use radio frequencies to disrupt the drone signals.
The students are also learning how to use another handheld system, the Drone Buster.
Whereas the Smart Shooter utilizes the 5.56 round, this is known as an electronic attack system. So the soldier is taking this here and they're pointing in the general direction of the target that they see. And then the soldier placed in operation utilize various jamming means to interdict that target.
The JCU says these weapon systems and others like them are already in the hands of U.S. forces around the world.
It's not just the Air Force anymore that is using unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. It is also ground forces at every echelon have different types of drones that provide them with intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, as well as targeting and sometimes strike capabilities.
Before the JCU was created, soldiers who trained on anti-drone weapon systems did so within their own branches.
The Joint Counter-UAS University, the intent here is to standardize and centralize the training so that we can all have interoperability as we work together and integrate the system successfully with respect to the threat.
Training typically lasts between 1 to 3 weeks. Students are selected by their commanders, but some volunteer to attend.
As far as branches of military coming through the JCU, we are seeing service members from all branches. We also train federal agencies as well as allied and partner nations.
In the years following the summits, the U.S. deployed large, sophisticated, expensive drones for surveillance and strikes in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And this is what they use in warfare. I mean, they've actually been telling us about this with the stuff in Ukraine. You may have seen some news clips that they play where they're like, oh, the Ukrainian soldiers are equipped with these electromagnetic pulse guns, and nobody knows. The common person has no idea what it is. I mean, the gun itself looks like something you'd see in a sci-fi movie where you'd see lasers coming out. And there are lasers coming out. They're just not visible with the human eye, right? In Terminator 2, they also use lasers to shoot up at the machines because it takes an electromagnetic pulse to disrupt the signals of these things to short circuit them. So you would have to disrupt their signals. You'd have to disrupt the communication signals on these things. And if you look at some of these places that are listing them, they're all military. It's like the guy in the news clip, they're talking about shooting it out of the sky. Then they're telling you that this entire thing could be a private contractor. Well, ding, ding, ding. What do you think all these Lockheed Martin, what do you think these companies are? These private contractors, corporations. That's what we're under the control of. Corporations who control the military, who create these weapons. So you're telling me that a private contractor who's flying these drones around, that the government themselves with their military can't figure out? The answer to all of it is that the government knows exactly what it is. And why would the government shoot their own drones out of the sky? Why would they even tell the public how to get these things out of the sky? You think the government's going to go, well, we have these EMP, electromagnetic pulse guns to shoot them out of the sky. Then all of a sudden, you get a large majority of the population that at least it's on their radar that you would need something to short circuit these things, that you couldn't just go grab a handgun and shoot them out of the sky. So they don't want to tell you that to get them out of the sky, you're going to need some type of EMP gun, right? So what they'll say is, well, we don't know what they are. I mean, it's going to be, they go, hey, shoot it out of the sky. Well, how far up in the sky are these things? Pretty far up. So it's nearly impossible for somebody to actually shoot it down. And like I said, these things are so big, and I'm sure the majority of these ones that come from DARPA are bulletproof anyway, that it's not going to do anything to it, except maybe put you on their radar if you're on the ground and the thing doesn't already see you using some type of thermodynamics or something, where they can see, literally like out of the Predator's eyes, where they can see your warmth on the ground and realize that you're there. I mean, this entire thing is absurd. It's absurd. And this sums up the state of our world. The things that have happened in the last 5 years sums it up. Because we let them get away with it. We allow them to get away with it. They weren't pushing on us day in and day out. After that event happened on the 11th day of September, all the way up to the outbreak, nothing occurred where it was like this every single day. Not just these stories, the stories of, castrating kids, can men have babies, this insane stuff that they're talking about out in the open that would have any government overthrown. The fact that they're allowing drones to fly in the skies, where we pay for the government to protect us with our tax money, right? They're allowing it. They're going, we don't know. We accept it. They fly balloons over. They blame it on China. And they go, we're just going to let it stay up there. And we allow it and we accept it. They tell us that we all have to put something in our body or we're not allowed to earn income, right? We're not allowed to have a job. You have to lose your job over it. And we accept it, right? And then people lose their job and they go, it doesn't really make you immune to anything. And we accept it. We accept it. We allow it, right? Because everybody thinks that the way to stop it is by voting for someone like Donald Trump, who's going to change it, right? Who's really going to advance this AI governance, where people like Elon Musk are talking about drone wars. Guess what? The drone wars are against you and me. He's not talking about drone wars between Russia and America. Sure, the government will blame Russia and blame China, saying they're flying drones over us. And, they can't shoot them down. They don't know how to shoot them down. They can't identify them on radar, all this bull crap. And everybody just believes it. And they get away with it. They get away with it. They get away with it. It's absolutely unbelievable. You could bet your bottom dollar. This is not the end of the story. This is not something that's going to end, because we're headed towards this being a normal part of our lives, having drone surveillance all around us, okay? The more the time that goes by that they don't do anything about it and people just start accepting it, that's called becoming desensitized. It's going to get worse and worse unless people do something about it. And guess what? Shooting it down with a gun isn't going to do anything. So unless you know how to build an EMP, a massive one, right, you're not going to be able to take them down. Now, guess what? If you do have one or you can build one, the government's going to come and seize it, because they're going to say you don't have the right to have an electromagnetic pulse, that it's illegal. Only they can have the right to that, while we're all looking at each other about, getting people's weapons out of their home. Well, they have weapons that you can't even defend against, like electromagnetic pulses, like directed energy weapons, right? What do you think? You could put a blue roof on your home and it's going to prevent you from getting hit with a directed energy weapon? I've talked about that before too. It's more than that. They won't let you know the types of materials and the things that you would need to defend yourself against them, but people need to become aware of it. And they're telling you all this stuff is going on. They're talking about it in the mainstream media, shrugging their shoulders. We're allowing them to do it. And what is the overall theme that we're getting back from the government? We don't know what they are. So what is that supposed to make you think? It's supposed to make you think that it's potentially a UFO. And if all of a sudden they shut grids off, say they shut off the grid in the East Coast first, right? And they do little at a time instead of the whole country at once. And they say, oh my gosh, and they had all that stuff going on in the sky. Now their electricity's off. Who are they going to blame it on? China, Russia, or can they say, well, it could be some type of UFO drones that were flying above, and people are just going to accept it, right? They're going to go, oh my gosh, the UFOs have attacked. Because if they realized it was their own government, then they would finally not put up with it anymore. And Donald Trump's not addressing it. Elon Musk's not addressing it. Why? Because they know exactly what it is. And they know exactly what's coming with the future AI governance. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.